Do you guys absolutely dread the feeling of having to drag yourself out of bed in the morning? I wish there were some days when I could just decide not to go to work. That's why I started learning more about personal finance. I'm currently building right now to give my future self the option of not working because I have to, but because I want to. The goal of this channel is to provide information on how I've personally progressed in my financial journey. Personal finance is personal, so what works for me might not work for you. But with more information, I believe that you'll be able to make better financial decisions and better achieve your financial goals. Growing up, I watched how much my parents worked, and I really learned how important time was. My dad is a blue collar business owner, but just because he owns the business doesn't mean he doesn't work long hours. He leaves for work at around 7:30 in the morning, and he'll probably come home at 6 in the evening on a light day. But if he's really busy, he'll come home at around 10 or 11 at night. So growing up, I never really got to spend that much time with him. And while I'm extremely grateful for all the sacrifices that he has made to support the family, I personally don't want to be forced to work as hard as he did. So how do you start setting yourself up for financial success? If you think about it, most people fall into the trap of getting their paycheck and then immediately splurging on something nice. They then pay their bills and then save whatever is left over, if there's anything left over at all. A vast majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that's like spinning your wheels in the mud. You're not damaging your finances, but you're also not putting yourself ahead at all. I believe that you have to start treating your finances like a business and tracking what goes in and out of your bank account. An easy way to do this is to follow the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. Up to 50% of your income will go to necessities. 20% of your income will go to paying off debt, savings, and investing. And then with the last 30%, you can spend on whatever you want guilt-free. In my opinion, it's a lot more freeing to be able to spend on whatever you want after you budget than spending money right when your paycheck comes in and trying to work the numbers later. Now, this is where the personal and personal finance comes in. This is just a rough guideline, so you will have to alter the plan based on your personal situation. To get your necessities number, you're going to have to add up all of the things that you need to live. This is going to be your rent, mortgage, transportation costs, car insurance, and stuff like that. You're going to want to have this amount be under 50% of your income each month. If it's over 50%, you're going to have to reduce your expenses by doing things like finding roommates or lowering your car payment. If that's not possible, then you'll just have to reduce how much you can spend on your wants. Personally, I still live with my parents, but I contribute to their mortgage payment and I pay my other expenses. In total, this is cheaper than moving out, which helps keep my expenses low and allows me to save and invest every month. Next is going to be your savings number. 20% of what you make every month is going to go to this number. Ideally, this will be automated so that you don't even have the option of spending this money. First, you're going to want to build an emergency fund. This fund should sit in a high yield savings account with at least a 3% interest rate and should only be used for emergencies like unexpected car repairs, hospital bills, or if you lose your job. This should be 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But with how the current job market is right now, you may want to have more in this account just to be safe. Since this is going to be such a big amount, I like to build it in 2 stages. 100% of your savings rate should go towards this fund each month until it hits $2,000. That should be enough to cover most large expenses. Then you can put 25% of your savings into the emergency fund each month, and then put the other 75% into paying off debt and investing. The rule is that you want to be paying off your high interest debt first, since that's a guaranteed rate of return that you're getting. So any debt that has an interest rate of 8% or above, you want to be paying off first rather than investing it. This is because the market averages about 8 to 10% each year. So you would be getting a higher rate of return by paying off your high interest debt first. And then you want to be investing instead of paying off your low interest debt because the interest rate from the market is higher than the interest rate of the low interest debt. You should just be making the minimum monthly payments on those. But like I said, personal finance is personal. So if your debt gives you stress or it's always on your mind, it may be better for you to pay that off first instead of investing. Now that we have our cushion just in case if any emergencies were to happen, what should you be investing in? First, let's define what investing is. Many people think that investing is buying a stock at a low price and then selling it when it goes up the next month. That's actually trading stocks, not investing, because you're trying to capture short-term changes in the market. Investing is buying assets and holding them for years so that you can build long-term wealth. If you were to invest in a small company that's just starting out, you wouldn't sell your share if someone offered you a few $100 more for it. If that company is actually a good buy, you would want to hold it for 10, 20, 30 years. That's how you get a real return on investment. But how do you know which companies will go up and down? Well, if you could tell, then you wouldn't be watching this video. This is not financial advice. This is just what I have done to build my portfolio. But I invest in an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. An ETF is basically a basket of stocks, and the S&P 500 is an index or a list of the top 500 companies in the United States. In my opinion, the S&P 500 is such a good investment because it averages about 10% annually, going back to when it was created. But if you factor in inflation, this amount becomes about 7%. Still, I believe that's the most set it and forget it type of investment because the index is actively managed. So if one company falls out of the index, another will take its place, meaning that you don't have to manage your portfolio yourself. But I also diversify my portfolio with other ETFs that are outside of this fund. So what you're going to do is open a brokerage account with any broker, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Robinhood, and I would recommend opening and contributing to a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account that grows tax-free. So when you are at least 59 and a half years old, you can take money out of that account with no penalties at all. However, you can also take out what you contributed to the account without penalties at any time. You shouldn't really do this though because you can't put it back in after you take it out. If you were to open an individual brokerage account, just a standard investing account, you would be able to take money out anytime, but you would then be taxed on your gains. As of 2026, a Roth IRA has a contribution limit of $7,500. So I personally max out my Roth IRA for the year, and then anything that I've left over, I put into my standard taxable brokerage account. Now here's what you have been waiting for, your fun money. You can reward yourself and spend this on whatever you want. Do you enjoy treating yourself out to a nice meal? Go ahead. Maybe you have a niche hobby that you want to spend on. You can do that too. You can do whatever you want with this money because you already put in the hard work of budgeting and paying yourself first. Just make sure to track the spending and make sure that it doesn't go over your set amount because then you wouldn't be sticking to your budget anymore. I think the hardest part of any task is first starting out. But once you start and get into the groove of things, it gets a lot easier. For this task, just set up some automated deposits and investments and let time do the work. An analogy that people compare wealth building to is a snowball rolling down a hill. At the beginning, the snowball rolling down is pretty small and harmless, but after running its course for a while, it starts to get big and can do a lot of damage. Your portfolio will work the same way. At the beginning, most of the work will be done by your own contributions, but after a certain point, your money starts to work for you, and what you contribute will be way less than the growth of the portfolio itself. Just make sure not to panic sell any of your investments, and when the market is down, treat it like a discount or an opportunity to buy stocks on sale. Many people go out of their way to get discounts on clothes or food, but when the market is down and on discount by 20%, they start panicking and selling all of their stocks, which is pretty weird to me. So yeah, I hope you guys learned a thing or two from this video. I believe that the 50-30-20 rule is a pretty achievable budget for most Americans. Leave a comment if I missed anything, or if you have any advice that we could all learn from. There's a lot more that I want to talk about on this channel, but I just started out, so I'm still working out how to do this in conjunction with my 9 to 5. So you guys will have to bear with me for a while. But hopefully we can create a community here and work together to achieve our financial goals. Time is going to run its course anyway, so instead of paying all these big corporations when you get paid, you should start paying yourself first. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.